that was it. I was full blown into freestyle and wanted to make it my living.
So you were 15 and you went into your first competition. What were you on when you rode a 125 at 15 in that competition? Or?
No, well, I did some local stuff in Arizona. Um, like I would, they'd won a jump show at the races this weekend. So I was
Mhm.
still on a 125 then, and they'd say like, "Hey, you could race for free, and we'll give you like $200 or something like that, $150, and you can do the jump show." It was always sketchy, some like super sketchy like dirt lip that they build up off the side of the track to jump onto the finish line landing or whatever. But I did all that stuff on a 125, and that when my dad Tandy was like a couple of those, maybe two or three of those, and my dad was like, "This is nuts! Like you're getting off of that 125." And and got me on a 250, which I really didn't like at the time. I really fought it because with my 125, I was still small. I was like 12, 13. And with the 125, I had this like simple formula, and I could look at the corner and look at a jump, and it's either you can or you cannot. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's either my bike will make it or it will not.
Mhm.
And that was it. And then when I got on the 250, it was like I had no excuse. And it wasn't just okay. It's either second out of the corner wide open, or I can click third, or I can click fourth, and it's just always wide open pretty much for some type of freestyle jump on a 125. It was never like 3/4 throttle or whatever. It was just always pegged. And then I got onto the 250, and it was like I had to start timing things. And that's
Mhm.
what my when I said I crashed in Houston at my first contest. I was first jump, and I was still kind of getting used to that 250 at that time. But literally that jump, I don't think you could. I would have even been. I don't think I would have been able to compete that night in Houston if I was still on 125,
Mhm.
which that change only happened a couple months before. But I'm really thankful looking back because I was, 15 at that time thinking I knew better. And my dad was like, no, you're getting on a 250. It's better to be able to have a little too much and not need to use it all than to not have enough. Because that day
Right.
in Houston, I would have just had to pack up my bike or ride around that jump, and wouldn't have been the same experience as being able to just show up and flow through the course. Because actually, that jump, you had to jump it to flow through the course. Like you couldn't, skip it and then get to the corner and jump another jump. Just how the course flew, you had to jump that jump to kind of get a rhythm and start jumping through the course. So anyway, that was it. My dad got me on a 250, and after that first pro contest in Houston in January of 2000, I knew Dad was right. Started listening to him more, and then it was like that was IFMA, which was Pace Motorsports back then. It's changed a couple
Mhm.
times through the years, but it's now Feld, same company,
Okay.
different name. But anyway, they invited me back like a month later. There was a contest in Salt Lake City. Went and did that. Can't remember how I did, but they invited me back to another contest 2 weeks later in Denver. I actually made the finals that time, and then they invited IFMA, that contest series invited me, said, "Hey, why don't you just keep your bike on the truck, like an 18 wheeler that just goes to every contest along with all the other equipment, for the contest." And that was that. I drove home without my bike. My bike was on the truck, and I started flying into shows or contests, excuse me, almost every weekend. And it was like I went from January, kind of like, oh my gosh, I literally sent in a VHS tape to to Pace Motorsports, got to ride that contest, and 2 months later, after two more contests in Salt Lake City and Denver, then my bike was on the truck, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it happened. Like I'm gonna fly this weekend to wherever it was, somewhere like Alabama or something, and go ride another contest. And Dad traveled with me until I turned 18, and it was just yeah, magical time, man. It just
Amazing.
seemed, now that I look back on it, it seemed like it took forever to get to that point when you're a kid, but now I look back on it, it was just like I wanted a bike, Dad bought me a bike, started riding the desert, started going to tracks, had fun racing, started learning tricks, got into a contest, X Games a couple years later. It just happened so dang fast. But